Hey there, good to see you. Today in this video, we are taking a close look at a new collection of mobile photography and videography accessories made by Freewell. This collection includes a specialized phone case that has a metal magnetized plate here on the back. And with this plate, you may mount magnetized filters like this variable ND filter here that just mounts directly onto the back of the phone and turns just like a regular VND. This collection also includes a versatile grip that allows you to mount and use your phone a number of different ways. And then there is my favorite accessory of all, the 1.55 times anamorphic lens. Before we get going, I want to let you know that Freewell did provide me with everything that you are going to see in this video, and I get to keep everything that they sent. They have not paid for this video, they have not sponsored this video, they've not had any editorial input in this video, and they will see this video at the exact same time you do. Everything that you'll hear in this video is my honest and unbiased opinion. So let's get started with the case. Technically speaking, the case does a great job of holding the filters in place. The magnetized plate here on the back is sufficiently strong in order to hold the filter to the back of the phone so it won't drop off. The cutaways for the anamorphic lens and other lenses, if Freewell were, to release more in the future, they work perfectly fine. They do a good job of gripping and holding the lens in place. So again, from a technical perspective, the case works great. The metal plate on the back here is fantastic, but the rest of the case, I don't particularly care for. I feel like the rest of the case is just not as nice as it could be. The materials feel a little cheap, a little plasticky, and I don't particularly care for this like dark blue violet color that's around the side here. The buttons on the Sherpa case are also weirdly sensitive. When I have this case on my phone, I find myself constantly accidentally taking screenshots and almost dialing emergency SOS on the phone, much more so compared to other phone cases that I own. Now, of course, this won't be a big deal if you only intend to use the phone case when you are mounting filters or the anamorphic lens. If that is the only time and place that you plan to use the case, well, the aesthetics of the case and the look and feel of it may not matter to you quite as much. Personally, for me, I kind of like to put a case on my phone and forget about it. So it would be nice if the case had, slightly better aesthetics, in my opinion, so that it could be used as an everyday case as well. Okay, now let's look at the magnetized filters. So one of the really interesting things about the design of these magnetized filters, besides the fact that they're magnetized, is the fact that the plates on the back of these filters can be removed. If, say, in the future, Apple were to release, say, like the iPhone 15 or 16, something like that, and if they were to change the dimensions of this plate, well, you wouldn't necessarily have to buy an entirely new set of filters. Freewell will be selling replacement plates for the back of these filters. So when you buy the filters, they are future-proofed against, design changes in the future. So as mentioned earlier, this collection includes a variable ND. Actually, there are two types of variable ND. This is the regular VND here, and then Freewell's also offering a diffusion mist variable ND if that is of interest. Both VNDs have a density range of 1 to 5 stops. And just like a regular VND, this is a filter that is comprised of 2 panes of polarized glass, one that rotates in front of the other. So the Sherpa VND helps reduce the amount of light that's entering the camera lenses here, which allows the phone to shoot using a slower shutter speed. Now, when it comes to color, Freewell has stamped here on the front of the filter. They have true color stamped on the front here, which is, in my experience, mostly true. Somewhere between like 1 and 3 stops on the filter. That's a pretty good range where you're not going to see any, unusual changes in the hue or no color shifting going on in your color temperature or your tint. When you get up to 4, you're starting to push it a little bit, you start to see some change happening. And then when you get to 5, there is a definite change. So in my opinion and experience, I would definitely avoid the 5-stop light reduction on this VND. Usually vignette is an issue with circular filters, especially with a more traditional camera lens. But on the iPhone, probably because this filter is just so much bigger than the than the camera lenses below. Vignette is really not an issue at all. It's not something to be concerned with. The most important thing, however, to be concerned with, and the thing to really keep an eye on if you are new to variable NDs and you've never used one before, and especially when it's like a clear sunny day and it's a bright blue sky, you can get some really weird, like uneven darkening and even brightening of the frame in different areas because of that polarized glass in the filter, which is different from a solid ND, which doesn't have that issue. It's one of the reasons why personally I don't particularly care for variable NDs. I don't like them as much as solid NDs. They are very convenient. I mean, it's fantastic just being able to dial in exactly how much darkening you want without having to constantly swap filters. And then you're only carrying one filter with you as opposed to 5 different solid NDs, which is the equivalent of this one filter. But the main downside is polarized light. So you really have to keep an eye on that when you are shooting outdoors. And generally speaking, just try to avoid blue sky and bright sun if you can. Okay, enough about the VND. The next filter is the circular polarizer. Now this looks just like the variable ND, and actually that's a point that I forgot to make. One of the things that I don't particularly like about these magnetized filters is that there's nothing on the front that tells you what they are. There's also nothing on the back that tells you what they are. Now the side of the filter does say, this says CPL, this says VND, and then we have 2 diffusion mist filters here, which we'll get to in just a moment. But the thing that's weird is that, each one of these filters come with, one of these black rubberized caps, which is nice because it helps protect the filter when you're not using it. But from a user experience perspective, this can be really frustrating because when you get the caps on the filters, the caps cover the labels on the side of the filter. And again, there's nothing on the back to tell you what the filter is, and they all look identical. Okay, so let's get back to the CPL. So the CPL is a circular polarizer, and this is, just like any other circular polarizer that you would buy for a normal camera. A CPL is for minimizing reflections, it's for increasing clarity. It helps reveal more detail in specular highlights in your shot. When it comes to the color accuracy of the CPL, I had no trouble with it at all. It is a color accurate filter. I didn't see any, big change in the color cast or rather the the temperature or the tint of my photos and videos when using the CPL. And then there are 2 diffusion filters. There is which one is this? We have a snow mist filter, and then this one over here is the glow filter. Both filters more or less do the exact same thing. Both filters help diffuse and refract light so that when light passes through the glass in the filter, it bounces around a little bit and helps soften clarity. It helps add a little extra bloom and glow to highlights in your shot. It also has a flattering effect on things like wrinkles and blemishes. Basically something that you would use in order to help reduce some of the sharpening that is applied especially by cameras like the iPhone. In my testing, both filters are very similar. The glow mist, I think, is a little more standard, is a little more in line with if you're already using diffusion filters on other cameras. The glow one, I think, is a little more similar to what you're already seeing elsewhere. The snow is a little more unique. I actually really do like the snow. I think the snow is nice because it helps soften the image and helps reduce some of that clarity and sharpness, but without injecting as much glow and bloom. I also just have to say, I really like the simplicity of these filters because unlike the VND and the CPL, which have, very specific use cases, very specific goals in mind, these are just nice filters that you can clip on just to make your video footage look a little bit nicer. So pros and cons of the magnetized filters. Well, I love the way that they mount to the back of the phone. It's so simple, it's so clean and easy. No adapters, no weird clips. Their design and construction is fantastic. Great materials used. They're solid and durable, yet lightweight. So, they're not made of plastic or anything like that. These, use, high quality glass just like you would find in other Freewell filters. The main thing that I wish this collection included were some solid NDs. I would prefer having just some, straight up solid NDs in this magnetized form factor here, instead of using the variable ND because of the problems that I talked about before. And I would prefer to have NDs using higher densities because, as I mentioned earlier, this only gets up to 5 stops. And I found that when outdoors, especially like midday when the sun is bright, 5 stops is oftentimes not enough in order to bring the shutter speed of the phone down to, say, something like 1/48th of a second. Okay, now let's move on to one of my favorite parts of the Sherpa line, and that is the anamorphic lens. An anamorphic lens helps you get that Hollywood look, that classic Panavision motion picture look where you get like an ultra wide field of view. And the lens captures that ultra wide field of view and just squeezes all that information into a 16:9 container. It just basically just mushes it all into it. So that then thereafter, I mean, it looks terrible when you first look at it, but then thereafter, when you get it in your video editor and you stretch everything back out again, well, then you get those distinctive black bars on the top and the bottom, but the image in the middle has that ultra wide look. Honestly, it's a lot of fun to shoot with, especially if you've never shot anamorphic before and you've been scared off by the high price tags of like a true anamorphic lens that you would shoot with on an interchangeable lens camera. This is far more affordable and much easier to pick up and to use and experiment with and have fun with. So speaking of traditional anamorphic lenses, this one here has an element inside of it that helps add some of those distinctive flares that you would see with a true anamorphic lens. And Freewell offers two versions. There is a gold one and a blue one. Freewell sent me the gold one, and I'm glad they did because I think gold does a better job of mimicking sunlight, like it looks a little more natural and organic. So when you buy the anamorphic lens, the lens actually comes as a kit, and it includes a UV filter, just a clear UV filter that threads onto the front, and 4 filters, 4 solid NDs. And you have everything here from ND8 to ND64. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the anamorphic lens just threads directly onto the back of the phone case like so. You just, put it into the cutaway and then you rotate it 90 degrees in order to get it into just the right place. There's a little bit of wiggle here, a little bit of give, and you have to, keep an eye on that. Now to shoot anamorphic video, you may use any video app on the phone. You could use the built-in camera app if you want to record video that way and then stretch it back out later in post. In my opinion, however, the best way to shoot anamorphic on an iPhone is to use an application that has an anamorphic mode, like a mode that you can just enable and turn on, and then the anamorphic effect is automatically stretched with the preview that you see here on the phone. So it's more what you see is what you get, as opposed to looking at a stretched image on the back of your phone and thinking, maybe this is okay, maybe this is gonna work. If you're looking for an app recommendation, I would recommend checking out Cinema P3. That's the app that I've been using, and it worked really well for me. I love being able to turn on the 1.55 anamorphic. And the other cool thing about Cinema P3 is that it has distortion control in it. There's a slider at the bottom that you can use, which is really helpful if your shot, say, has like trees or telephone poles or buildings or anything with a geometry that includes straight lines, because sometimes those lines, tend to bend like so, and you can use that distortion control to straighten them out so that they look better. Of course, that's the kind of thing you could always fix in post later if that is your thing and you know how to do that, but it's so nice being able to just do it in camera. As far as the optics go, like how good is the image that you get out of this Sherpa anamorphic lens? Well, I think it's pretty much in line with what you would expect to see with other small, inexpensive mobile lenses that attach to the back of a smartphone. In other words, like if you were someone who's coming from the world of, say, professional interchangeable lenses on a full frame mirrorless camera, something like that, yeah, you kind of have to lower your expectations a little bit. For example, when I shot anamorphic video using this lens, I would oftentimes see around the corners of the frame some blurring, some smearing, a little bit of chromatic aberration as well, which some people watching this video could chalk up to, well, it's an anamorphic lens. Like, that is part of the character and the look of cinema glass, of anamorphic glass. It's part of the reason why, people use cinema glass, because it has more character, more imperfections than a lens designed for photography where, sharp corner-to-corner clarity and sharpness is prioritized. So as long as you know what you're getting into and as long as you know to expect that when you're shooting video, it hopefully shouldn't bother you that much. But if you are someone who prioritizes and really wants that sharp edge-to-edge, corner-to-corner look, well, you're not going to get it with this anamorphic lens. So pros and cons of the anamorphic lens. Well, one, I would love to see Freewell offer, again, a 1.33 times factor anamorphic lens, something with a more narrow field of view. The other thing that is a little funny to me about this Sherpa filter and lens system is the fact that these solid NDs here are not compatible with the magnetized ones. And I get why, because I mean, these are, threading onto two entirely different things. Like, the magnetized filters fit here, and the circular threaded filters fit on the front of the anamorphic lens. But part of me kind of wishes that this system was a little more modular in nature, so that you had one set of filters, so that, say I could put like one of these like diffusion mist filters on the front of the anamorphic, or, something along those lines, so that there wasn't like separate filters for each use case. But, that's just me. I like for things to be simpler and cleaner and a little more modular so that I'm not having to pack as much stuff. I'm just glad that Freewell includes solid NDs with this collection, because, being able to use, as I was mentioning earlier with the VND, being able to put a high density ND64 on the lens, especially when shooting outdoors, did a much better job of reducing light and bringing shutter speed more under control than using this 1:5 variable ND. Okay, so this is the Bluetooth Sherpa grip, and this is an extra accessory that you can buy, and this allows you to mount and use your iPhone a number of different ways. Similar to other mobile mounts, this uses a jaw system like this that expands to fit the phone. So we'll just put the phone in here, and it clips around the phone like so. Now what you can do is position this over to one side like so, fold the handle down, and then you have a pistol grip. So that's pretty cool. Another thing you can do is fold this back up again, and then down here on this side is an Arca Swiss plate. Up here at the top of the plate, there are 3 1/4-20 threads up here. So you could almost treat this like a cage. You could be mounting some accessories here. There's also a cold shoe mount up here at the top, so you could throw on a light or a microphone, something like that. And then there are 3 additional 1/4-20 mounts down here on the bottom of the grip as well. And then if you want to use the phone to, say, record yourself or to take a group photo, something like that, you can just fold the handle down like so, pull it out, and then it functions as a selfie stick, which is pretty cool. It's not particularly long. I mean, I think this is, I don't know, probably like a foot long, something like that. So it's not going to get really far out in front of you, but it's a nice little additional feature. Now on the back of the handle here is a power switch and a shutter button. And this connects to your phone via Bluetooth and allows you to remotely trigger the shutter on the camera, whether you're recording photos or videos. And it's compatible, obviously, with the iOS camera app and any other third-party app that supports this type of functionality, which should be pretty much all of them. Now, what's interesting about this little shutter button here is that this is actually removable. This actually comes out of the handle, so you can, hold it by hand if you want to, like so. Or there's a little place here on the back of the handle where it can also mount, where it magnetically attaches. And this could be nice when using the grip in a different orientation, like if you're using it in selfie mode or using it in grip mode like this, because then the shutter button is directly under your thumb. The thing that I don't particularly like, though, about this shutter button design is that the magnetized grip here is very weak. Like it barely takes anything at all for the shutter button to pop off. So personally, I would not be putting it here. Like I would pretty much always keep it in its normal spot down here to, keep it from getting lost. As far as the pros and cons go, I think if you are someone who likes the idea of having a tripod mount, having a pistol grip like so, and also being able to use it like a selfie stick, if those are all use cases that you typically use with your phone, then you will probably enjoy having a single accessory, a single thing to pack in your bag and to bring with you in order to fulfill all those different needs. But for me, I typically mount the phone to a tripod, and as a tripod mount, it's fine. I mean, it does the job, no trouble there, but I'm just really not a fan of like these jaw mechanisms, phone mounts like these, because they're just so much more cumbersome to get your phone in and out of. And with MagSafe that we have on these iPhones today, like I would much rather have a MagSafe mount for my tripod, and then, you know, just like quickly magnetically, you know, mount the phone to it, as opposed to using something like this. So if you primarily shoot on a tripod and, you know, nothing else here really is of interest to you or of use to you, I think just going with a MagSafe magnetized mount on a tripod for your phone is probably the better option. But for everyone else who, you know, wants all this different functionality, well, it's a pretty cool, pretty handy little accessory. Okay, so that brings us to a close here. Obviously, there was a lot to cover in this video. Hopefully this video helped. If you've been thinking about picking up the Sherpa collection for your iPhone 13, 13 Pro, 14, or 14 Pro, hopefully this video helped you in that decision. If you are considering something in the Sherpa system, I would recommend checking out the blog post that goes along with this video, because oftentimes when editing videos for YouTube, I can't include everything, or else, you know, a video is going to end up being incredibly long. So oftentimes in the blog post, I will include additional information that didn't make the cut for the video. And I also use the blog post as a way to provide future updates as well. So head over to my website if you want to check that out. There's a link down below in the video description. And by the way, you can also subscribe to my free email newsletter there as well. I put one out just about every single week that provides updates on what's going on here on my YouTube channel and other stuff as well that oftentimes doesn't make it into video form. So if you want to check that out, head over to my website, link in the description. And of course, as always, links to everything that I talked about in this video will be provided down below in the video description as well, if you would care to follow up on anything mentioned here. Thanks again to Freewell for providing everything seen in this video, and thanks for your support. I appreciate it. And thank you, of course, for being here. That's it for me. I will see you next time.